Hoosiers looking to go on the road and play spoiler this week against number 4 Penn State in Happy Valley. What's going on, Big Ten Ted? Coming at you for another game preview. Indiana and Penn State 1 week before that big game against Iowa. Could another I school get in the way of a top 5 versus top 5 matchup last week? So let's talk about Indiana. Let's talk about Penn State. IU, they turn the football over as good as anybody. Right? Michael Penix, 6 interceptions so far this season, and really they came in 2 games. The Iowa game, right, that did not go well for anybody in Bloomington, Indiana. Turned the football over 3 times, 2 of them going back for 6. And then the Cincinnati game. Now, those are 2 very good defenses. The Iowa defense and the Cincinnati defense are as good as you're going to get across the United States of America. But when I look at this Penn State defense, I'm not saying they're up there, but they're close. That Penn State defense is being close to what Iowa and the Cincinnatis and maybe even the Georgias of the world have to offer. And I look at this matchup in Happy Valley. It's a 6:30 kickoff, 7:30 local time. And I can't help but think that defense and that crowd is going to force Michael Penix into making mistakes. When Michael Penix makes mistakes, bad things happen for the team that wears IU on the side of their helmet. Last week, they really put the game into the hands of Michael Penix, and he almost lost it, right? Over 50 times throwing the football against Western Kentucky. They escaped with a 33-31 win. As well, talking about that game, that's an Indiana defense that gave up over 300 yards and 3 touchdowns to that vaunted, of course, Hilltopper offense, right? Everybody's talking about Western Kentucky. So if Western Kentucky can do that, what can guys like Sean Clifford, Noah Kane, Jahan Dotson, and the whole crew at Penn State, the number 4 team in the country, do against this Indiana defense? And kind of going back now to the Hoosier offense, one thing has been clear to me. Stephen Carr did a good job running the football last week, 100 yards. It's the first time I think he's eclipsed the 100-yard mark this season. But in the games prior to that, against some decent opponents, I look the Cincinnati game and the Iowa game. They had a tough time running the football. Cincinnati game, I think they ran it 21 times, and they only got about 50 or 60 yards on the ground. So they tried to run the football, it just didn't work. And I think now Tom Allen and his coaching staff says maybe we need to put the ball in the hands of Michael Penix. I know he might be turning the football over, but we got to try to have him win football games. You saw it last week, over 50 times throwing the football against Western Kentucky. He put it up, I think, 40 times against Cincinnati. So clearly they are putting the ball into the hands of Michael Penix and seeing if he can recreate some of that 2020 magic. So far he's creating magic just for the defenses, right? Throwing all sorts of interceptions, and I don't know if this overload in terms of passing plays is necessarily helping. Having a tough time running the football. They've got some weapons, right? This is a decent offense. But right now, Penn State is the better team. I think there's no doubt about that, right? The top 5 ranking, I think, proves that, and what Penn State has been able to do, beating Wisconsin the way they did, coming back in that week 1 matchup, and then the big win against Auburn, right? They're still riding that high, that 28-20 win against a good Auburn team here this season. Can Indiana defend Jahan Dotson? I don't think they can, right? You saw what happened a week ago. This is a solid defense. Micah McFadden, that linebacking core, might be able to do something, but this isn't an Indiana defense that's going to put a lot of pressure on opposing offenses. The Hoosier defense has only 1 interception so far this season, whereas Penn State is second in the Big Ten in interceptions. They have 5 interceptions so far this season. So what does that tell you? Indiana doesn't force a lot of turnovers, doesn't put a lot of pressure on opposing offenses, whereas Penn State's defense can force offenses into trouble. And you take that right there. That's your preview. Of this one. That's all Penn State, right? Indiana and Penix has been turnover prone thus far this season. Penn State protecting the football. Sean Clifford, the veteran, knows what to do. He knows not to force the ball. We know what Sean can do, and he doesn't. And he doesn't do too much, that favors Penn State, the turnover category. I think Noah Cain, I think, could come out and have a pretty big day, but it wouldn't surprise me if Penn State wins this game in the passing game. The crowd and the defense are going to force some Indiana turnovers. And really, when I look at this one, it's hard for me to think that Indiana is going to come into Happy Valley and give them any trouble. Not win or not even make it close. I think Penn State is going to win this one. Although Indiana's got some talent. I look at that schedule coming up for the Hoosiers. It's not easy. The month of October is difficult. Penn State, Ohio State, Michigan State, Maryland, not in that order, I don't believe. They could very well get to the Halloween weekend, and after the Halloween weekend, and once October flips to November, this could very well be a 2-6 football team. I look at the depth of the Big Ten East, and I don't think this is a reflection of Indiana. I think it's more of a reflection of the depth, the pure depth of the Big Ten East. I think Indiana's the worst team right now in that division. Once again, I don't think they're a terrible football team. You put them in other divisions, maybe other conferences, and maybe they'd contend. But in this Big Ten East this year, ain't happening. What do you guys think? You think Indiana's got a shot? We're going to see some 2020 magic and a possible upset this week, or is Penn State going to roll into that big possible top 5 versus top 5 matchup against Iowa next week? Leave your thoughts in the comments below. Subscribe for all sorts of great Big Ten content. I'm Big Ten Ted. We'll see you in the next one.